Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the dojo. Today's featured show, Peacemaker, Season 2.
Yep, Peacemaker, Season 2, Episode 2. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more. I forgot what Victoria called that. I believe we went with comic adjacent / live action night. It was a mess. It's there. It's part of the title card. It's over. She put it there, so I'm not having her change it. So it's, yeah, that's whatever this is. But it's Peacemaker. And we had John Cena kill John Cena last week. Or Peacemaker kill other Peacemaker, which... It wasn't even last week. It's been like 2 weeks ago? I don't know. The first Max or HBO or whatever the hell they're calling it now, we're having issues with it, so we couldn't do that. The episode... not last week, but the week before, so we had to skip that week. That week, we did watch the Superman movie, though. So we got that context, which was reasonably important for what's going on here. If you haven't seen the Superman movie, and if you don't have like time or don't care, just like get a Cliff Notes or something, because based on what's going on in like the space where Peacemaker killed him, the other version of himself, and the like connected universes and stuff like that. What Lex Luthor does in the Superman movie, it has something to do with that. And you know, I could explain it, but I don't want to like drag this on because this is already going to be like a doubling thing based on what we're doing. So just get the Cliff Notes. Somebody can explain it to you. I'm sure it's out there. But it is probably going to be important to this season of Peacemaker, just like the TVA stuff in the Loki series was important for the latest Deadpool movie, that kind of thing. So it's all connected, the DC verse, the James Gunn stuff. So I think it was important that we got that context. And there were a couple Peacemaker cameos in the Superman movie. That was kind of funny. He was on like a late night talk show. So that was pretty funny, just having John Cena in the background just doing Peacemaker stuff. That was funny. The fact that Nathan Fillion plays this Green Lantern, because him and Hawkgirl are in this series, so that's going to be kind of interesting. So we had to look up that Green Lantern. I forget his name now because it's been a couple weeks. It was Guy Gardner. So we had to look that one up. But there is some definite context that was needed. I'm glad we found time to watch that movie. So
he's technically a Green Lantern and a Yellow Lantern and a Red Lantern. he's
by his powers combined, he is Captain Lantern.
Yeah, it seems like right now we're only going for Green Lantern version of him, but throughout his history, he's known to fall into some of the more darker Lantern colors as well. Right. And in general, is more of one of the anti-hero lanterns than like a true Green Lantern.
Yep. And the more DC stuff we've been watching lately, you know, starting with Harley and Kite Man and all the other DC, or the couple other DC things that we've done recently, you have to keep looking stuff up. But you know, while our DC knowledge isn't terrible, it's definitely not great. So that's why we're definitely looking stuff up when we have to, so we know what the hell we're talking about. So that was an interesting look up because, like I said, I believe I mentioned it last time, was if Nathan Fillion's in it, I'm in. He would have to do like supreme wrong for me to not be a Nathan Fillion. So that's already a major plus for me. But going forward, it will be interesting to see what happens here with the split universes, what's going on with Peacemaker, all that stuff they set up in the first episode. That was a great setup episode. We got some of the government stuff in the Superman movie with the general guy, I believe, that the organization, what was it, started with an A, I believe. It was that it was like that smaller time organization that Harcourt got kicked out of, or what.
No.
What's it with an A?
No, she wasn't kicked out of it. It's
or she applied to it or something. Because I know she name dropped them in her exit interview or whatever the heck that was that she was doing.
Yeah, she's apparently tried to apply for basically every espionage position she could, including them, but that wasn't the one that she was applying to when we saw her.
Right.
I'm drawing a blank on the name at the moment myself, but yeah, like he was in the movie. The current head of it was in the movie, and I don't really remember, but from what they were saying, his son or whatever was killed in the first season, and he blames Peacemaker for it.
Yeah, that's what it was. So I'm sure we'll get more on that. So there's plenty of definitely a bunch of story threads going on. I believe. No, I was just talking to Age about this when we were watching the Superman movie, or I might have said it last week and I might have checked it, but or last time, just in case though. But the guy who plays John Cena's brother is Roy from The Office, that actor, and he has done some stuff since his role as Roy in The Office. He's been just in a myriad of like random like side roles. So this is potentially the biggest thing he's done in a while, and that's really cool. I did always like the way he portrayed Roy and stuff like that as like a secondary character. So it was cool to see that guy again. So I was a big fan of The Office. So lots of cool stuff coinciding. Got Nathan Fillion, Roy from The Office, you know, John Cena, obviously. So
yeah, it was during the movie that you mentioned that you had looked it up.
Yep.
You were questioning it when we were watching the first episode, but you didn't look it up until later.
Right. So a couple things I wanted to confirm there. So yeah, we're back. Hopefully, you know, this whatever this is functions. I don't know what HBO is calling this service anymore, but we should be okay. But yeah, last week again, between the Age being under the weather and then me not being able to be around for various family and real life reasons, that was why we missed last week as well. So hopefully we'll be continuing the Peacemaker train just fine from now on. So fingers crossed. But yeah, that's why we missed the last couple weeks between technical issues, technically, and then the next week when we tried again, we couldn't even do it because of everything else that was going on. So hopefully we're back on track now that we missed a couple weeks, but that did allow us time to at least we got the Superman movie in, so we have that context, which again was reasonably important. So if we have to put stuff into context, like, hey, this was a thing they mentioned in the movie, we'll talk about it. You know what I mean? So anyway, if you're new, we split this between the live reaction timer that's over on Patreon. The link to that is down in the description, or hopefully the first pinned comment, assuming that goes through, but it has not been going through for me. I don't know what's going on with it, but I try every time, but I can't try multiple times. So if it goes through, great. If not, the link to my Patreon's there, and it's just all in a thing. You can search Peacemaker, it'll be there. That's where we do the timer reaction, where you can watch alongside of us. And here on YouTube, the intro is the same again, but it's just straight into the discussion and review over here. So whatever content for it will be there. So that being said, we're going to push some buttons and set up for the stuff over on Patreon, and we'll see you guys on the other side of the edit here on YouTube for the review and discussion. So let's push some buttons and get going. Here goes some. Well, alrighty then. We talked a little bit about the in the reaction there about some stuff, but we'll probably rehash most of it here. It's all stuff we wanted to talk about, but we just want to talk about it a little bit, touch on it there at the reaction. But we didn't talk about this. This is a fairly classic comedy sequence.
Yeah.
This is one of the classics. And you're
trying to hide the evidence.
Yes, and you gotta appreciate it. And then being frustrated when it doesn't work. I mean, you guys gotta remember, he just got out of a life and death battle. You know, he is reasonably wounded and just trying to put this body somewhere and have it be reasonably hidden so he can call Adrian and then bonesaw him and stick him in that incinerator trash can thing that the alien was using.
Originally he was just trying to hide the body.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
But then when that failed, is when he called Adrian to incinerate the body.
Right. Which they can't do because they had to literally bone saw it into pieces so it would fit in the incinerator. It wasn't like the Psy incinerator from the Harley Quinn series where you just throw like multiple bodies into it. This is more like a medium-sized trash can kind of deal.
Well, yeah, it was the alien's cat incinerator.
Yeah,
because that's like every time we see the alien, that's just its thing that it uses. It uses the dimension for is just to go incinerate cat corpses.
Yeah, so whatever their deal is, I kind of hope we get more on that alien at some point, just for random trivia nonsense. So,
I mean, he's in the opening and in the credits.
yeah, he's there. So, at some point, maybe we'll get like a whole episode dedicated to him. Maybe not a whole episode, but you guys remember if you watched the most recent season of the Harley Quinn animated series where Brainiac got a whole like backstory episode dedicated to himself? That was like the Jetsons. That was fucking amazing. It's just a one-off. Are you kidding me? That was brilliant. So maybe we'll get like a 10-minute skit of the inner life of that alien. So something like that would be kind of funny. But either way, that was a great sequence. We have all the relationship stuff going on with all the other characters, that kind of thing. Obviously, Adebayo and her girlfriend, that are on a break. I got to make the Friends reference, for those of you who remember the Friends reference, with one of the biggest parts of Friends was Ross and Rachel going on a break, and then Ross making a giant mistake. Not saying Adebayo's doing that, obviously, but they're using like that same terminology of we're not broken up, we're on a break, meaning, we're together, but we're not doing stuff. It's really dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also wanted to bring up that, it's not breaking in if she has a key and you didn't ask for the key back.
Yeah, it can't really be breaking in. You know what I mean? Because if you really didn't want her to show up, you would have been like, hey, give me my keys.
Yeah, no, it's not breaking in because you've previously established she has permission and her own key to enter your apartment, and you never told her that she's not allowed to enter your apartment anymore or asked for the key back. Yep. So it's not breaking in.
Yeah. So that's just something to think about, but I can understand Kia's frustration. I believe that's her name. But
Kaya, I think, it's something like that.
Yeah. Because what Adebayo is doing just definitely upended all their plans, because they had a pretty big plan at the beginning of last season. Obviously, they were, she was going to do this job with the butterfly situation, and then they're going to move back to Gotham and do like the whole pet shelter thing again, or whatever they're going to do. But now we're here, and she's trying to pull off a Mallory Archer, and even like Economos later in the episode, you hear him say, well, you're making a lot of money, and obviously not. It's just so...
I do think that is kind of the end goal here. It's going to be that Adebayo is going to basically become the new Waller, and they're going to start their own agency.
Right. Because let's face it, this universe has all kinds of random agencies out there like Argus. We got the name again, so that was good that was there. The one thing that I did kind of want to maybe zoom in at some point, or just look it up, is they had like when they did that flashback when Economos was walking Flag in at the beginning of the episode, they had what Argus stood for like on the wall, but it was very small. So
I don't remember what Argus stands for specifically. I don't know a lot about Argus. Like I said, one of the biggest things I know about Argus is the fact that the Flag's like assistant is usually the runner, or the person who runs Argus in most of the DC lore.
Right. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. But while this episode was kind of slower for certain things, it still had a bunch of relevant character interactions, information, all that kind of stuff. So while it wasn't as upbeat and ridiculous with the crossing dimensions as last episode and whatnot, we got Flurry. He's a character. I don't even know where to go with that. Obviously the sequence as well. Harcourt is also out of work. None of them are making a lot of money, if any at all. Economos is the only one. Economos and Vigilante are the only ones that have technically stable jobs. Well, Economos the most out of all of them, I guess.
Economos still
is just pissing off his boss at the restaurant. So.
Yeah, Economos still has agency work. Adrian still just works at the freaking restaurant thing that he's worked at the whole time. That hasn't changed at all. Yeah. And then freaking Peacemaker is just still being Peacemaker. It's just now he's inherited all his shit from his dad.
Yeah. So let's be real. If you inherit a paid off house, which I assume his dad has this paid off because let's face it, it's from his generation. If you had to fuck up really bad to not pay off a house like this kind of deal, and his dad was a criminal mastermind, so I'm sure he had enough money to pay off his house. So
yeah, no, his dad was a big time, very successful villain, and yes, about the time he would have bought this house in his lifetime, it probably would have only cost him like $40,000 or $50,000 to pay it off.
Yeah, so I mean, again, one of the biggest thing, and just kind of step out for a second, not that we like to talk about like super reality and politics and stuff like that and what's going on in real life, but paid off house here for us is huge. You know what I mean? If you have a paid off house at all, that is gigantic in this day and age for us as it stands right now, where we're at.
Yeah.
So
on average, the price of a house is about 5 times as expensive right now as it was like 30 or 40 years ago.
Comparatively speaking to income levels and whatnot. So yeah,
it's just the average income has only gone up about like 30 or 40%. Meanwhile, a house is about 5 times as expensive. So being able to actually own a house is significantly harder now than it ever has been.
Anybody who knows anything about mortgage payments, you don't have one of those, it is a huge relief on your monthly, expenses, so yearly, whatever it is, however people do their stuff payment wise, it's different for everybody based on, interest rates and whatever they're doing, however they have their finances set. But still, if you don't have a mortgage payment, I mean, that's gigantic. So either way, that being said, if with what situation Peacemaker is in this universe, even if he's not making a lot of money, he still has like residual stuff, obviously. So whatever his dad had lying around, I'm sure he could do something with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, seeing as he's the only one around to inherit, he probably inherited all of his dad's wealth and the house and everything like that, which obviously his dad in this universe is not as wealthy as his dad in the other universe, but he's still reasonably wealthy as a like big time successful villain.
Right. So that's just one of those things where you look at it and like all these characters are reasonably struggling. Obviously Peacemaker and Economos are in the best situations for just that kind of thing, but if they can get their own agency going and do whatever, DC's universe has always been very, from what I know, I could be wrong, but like whatever that hero work is, there's always like weird supporters of it. They're kind of like boosters or like alumni of colleges that like donate to the booster program kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So while they don't get paid directly, they're like taken care of by wealthy individuals who, they protected their assets, or, they see them as, how they support, in this case of like, say, like, I don't know, whatever, the Ohio State football program. And it's like, oh, I want to keep supporting these younger athletes so that they can be successful because, this is what Ohio State did for me in my career. And these millionaires or whoever they are give back to the school for those kids kind of deal. It's the same kind of thing. It's just like a booster program.
A lot of
sponsorships, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, a lot of the wealthier individuals within the DC universe typically fund a lot of the hero organizations, and there's a lot of agencies and stuff like that that are designed to either monitor or support hero organizations. And some of the hero organizations are just flat out corporate entities like the Justice Gang.
Yeah, that's what we saw in the Superman movie. So we saw their whole situation with being like, and that's the other thing that we didn't really talk about during reaction a little bit there, was the fact that what's going on in this universe right now has been changed and altered based on what's going on to the point where, like Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl got like retconned into it. You know what I mean? So something has changed here based on various factors. So it's not just the weirdness of the other universe that has to be dealt with. It's the change that has occurred in this universe that also has to be addressed to potentially deal with the situation. So it's a lot of timey-wimey space-time nonsense.
Yeah, retcon came through this universe and had his way with it.
Pretty much. So that will be another interesting thing to see what they do with that, because it's not just the other universe. It's whatever was the effect on this universe that changed it from the just... Because we talked about it in the first episode where they did that callback to the first season and, Adebayo asks her mom, hey, send in the Justice League in the first season. But when they did the flashback sequence to certain other things, when, they inserted the joke that he makes about Guy Gardner when they're like hanging out, when they're right before they do like the sniping scene of the Butterfly family. And then she calls in the Justice League, but she says the Justice Gang in that. So those were the retcons. And then, obviously when it was Mr. Terrific, that's who was the floating guy there in the that end sequence. It was Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, and Guy Gardner that got inserted into that scene with Superman, the Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, that kind of stuff. So it was those three that got retconned into that like final sequence after they take out the cow.
Yeah, instead of it being like the only one we like actually see not as a shadowed figure in the original one was just Aquaman, but in this instead it's just Superman and the Justice Gang.
Yep. So it will be interesting to see what that was, if it had anything to do with what Luthor was doing in the Superman movie, because that was relevant. So we'll just have to see all these interdimensional things that could potentially be leaking that crap that Mr. Terrific was talking about in the movie. That's supposed to be really bad. It was very technobabble. I don't remember everything that he was talking about, but the punchline of that joke was, that's why you don't create a pocket universe. So there's a lot of stuff up for grabs here. So it will be interesting to see how they handle all this and how it's gonna like tie into all that kind of stuff. Because the Superman stuff is probably gonna be kind of like a linchpin of like what's going on. Because Superman and Lex Luthor are obviously bigger deals in the DC verse than Peacemaker and what's going on over here. So it's probably gonna indirectly tie back to it, because obviously this Peacemaker series, it's still, the universe was affected by the stuff going on with like the super S tier guys like Superman and Luthor and that movie. So it'll be interesting to see those tie-ins and like what caused that, whatnot. So it will be interesting to see just how all this crazy timey-wimey nonsense is handled, because doing this kind of stuff is a pain in the ass. You know what I mean? Doing it well is a massive pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So I wish them the best of luck, because these initial stages aren't hard to do, but making it work across the board sucks. And I've seen it be okay, I've seen it be bad, and I've seen it be pretty good, but I'm hoping for the best for this, because as I said, I enjoy John Cena. Nathan Fillion being added to the series, that's great. A lot of other good actors in this series, obviously. So everything James Gunn has done recently has been pretty good. So I just hope for the best for this, because season 1 was pretty damn good, and these first 2 episodes have also been solid. So good luck with the space timey-wimey nonsense, interdimensional crap, honestly.
Yeah.
But either way, Economos got put in a situation. That Flurry guy is definitely one hell of a character. I'm just concerned that I'm going to land on nudity, so I'm not going to be able to find Flurry probably immediately. But we had this whole sequence of... Age mentioned it during the reaction, though, was in case anybody doesn't know how he was able to open this phone, that phone is using facial recognition.
Yeah.
It's one way to lock your phone these days. I don't use it personally, but I know a lot of people use it. It's a biometric ways of opening your devices are the new kind of norm, and it's more secure than obviously a password for certain things, but it also has its downsides. Obviously, there's not going to be a lot of people running into interdimensional doppelgangers taking the phone, but you know, there are ways around it and stuff like that. But yeah, we got to see, you know, their relationship in the other universe, that kind of thing. What he's going to be doing with it. We talked about it a little bit last time, where he's going to be in full-on what-if mode, and that kind of leads me into like Age's thoughts and what he wanted to talk about, of like how that other universe, like Adrian mentions, is like, oh, that's a universe where everything was great for everybody. You know, that sounds awesome. Is it really though? Is it a perfect universe?
So yeah, what I was going to bring up is we haven't seen enough of the other universe to really say for sure if it is. Specifically, we haven't really seen anyone else in the universe just besides Augie and Keith. But the thing is, Augie being a good guy in that universe, when we know what kind of a character Augie is, there is a specific DC universe where the Nazis won.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling it's probably either that universe or a similar universe. And that Augie is a hero because, despite being a racist, he's a hero because there is no other races to deal with.
Right.
Which, what I was thinking about was, once again, we need a reason for him to have met Harcourt, because in this universe, he met her through Waller, because Waller assigned her to her. But Waller's black. So, she was probably part of a totally different organization that he ended up working with him while he was a hero.
Yep. So that is one of the things, and a lot of people like that's one of the more interesting things, is when you talk about like villainous or evil characters. Generally speaking, even if you are like a bad person or whatever, it comes down to the people that you're around that are like your family. You're still going to treat them like family, and you're going to care about them, even if you are, you know, doing like bad things. So in the case of Augie, he's still going to love his sons because they're doing the same. They're just like him. You know what I mean? He's not, you know, inherently evil to people of his own side. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where a lot of people look at it and it's like, well, aren't they evil all the time? Well, no, they're not to their faction. They're not.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Evil is subjective and based on social norms. If the social norm is the Nazis won and that races other than white are bad, then he's a hero.
Yep. And again, you know, he's still going to treat his family like family because, you know, they're obviously probably just like him, whatever. Yeah. It's not just, oh, you're evil, so you're a dick to everybody, including your family. It's like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, once again, the only reason why like him and Peacemaker are estranged in this universe is because of the accidental death of Keith and him blaming him for it.
Right. So I did find Flurry. There he is. He is definitely an interesting addition to this cast. But to wrap up that little thing, there is, there's probably something to that effect going on in that universe. You know what I mean? Because while we haven't seen a ton of it, I believe everything mentioned in the press clippings that were up on the wall, there was like Kite Man, white guy, Ultra Humanite, metahuman, so that kind of doesn't count, and we didn't really see anything that was diverse.
Yeah, we didn't really ever see him leave the house or interact with anyone else to potentially give us more context for it.
The only context we could have potentially gotten, and we'd really have to look at it, was when Peacemaker opens the phone for the second time and he like scrolls through the contact list and finds Harcourt's number. We'd have to like scroll through those names and see if there's somebody there that we'd recognize. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Waller or Abadayo.
Yeah.
But But yeah, no, it's really just going to kind of be we have to see more about the actual universe. But that's the first thing that comes to mind for me is that if Augie's a hero, then it's probably that universe where the Nazis won. Or, once again, some similar universe if we're not using that specific one.
Right. So that was one of the ones. So it will be interesting to see if it's that one. So there's definitely some interesting stuff up in the air for that. Something to think about because it's a multiverse. All kinds of them. So, anyway, Flurry, let's talk about this man. What do you guys think about bird blindness? I mean, I thought he was just king with Economos, honestly. But obviously he wasn't, because even if he's doing a bit, you're not going to take it to the length to do it while your team is in danger and your life is in danger because an eagle is kicking your ass. Okay? Yeah. So, I guess in this man's case, bird blindness is a thing where who's to say that it can't be a real thing? It sounds outlandish, but there are certain conditions and cognitive effects on your mind and how you perceive things for certain people that
hallucinations are a thing. It could literally be some sort of ingrained phobia in his mind where he just totally blocks out birds.
Yeah. So, we're talking about a universe with metahumans, so who's to say there aren't like weird conditions like that? You know what I mean? So, why not? I mean, initially it sounds like he's totally BSing, right? And he's just fucking with Economos, but not when your life's in danger. You know what I mean? That's obviously the like telltale sign of like, how committed is this man to the bit? Because again, he was doing that to fuck with Economos, not his team that he gave very colorful nicknames to. Well, except for titties. That's way too generic and easy for a woman. Kind of rude, but
I think the main reason why he gave it to her is because she was fairly big-breasted and had like a cleavage window in her uniform.
Fair enough, yeah. But yeah, those names, man, just and the guy that got demoted twice. So we definitely had a lot of character interaction in this one across the board. All the sequences were solid. Flurry, I'm sure, is going to be an interesting character for the rest of this season. How he's going to handle Economos, what's going to be going on with them, especially now that,
as far as the bird blindness goes, the main thing that really sells it as definitely being a thing is, once again, when he eats shit into the dirt, diving 5 feet to the right of Eagly because he can't see Eagly.
Right. So that was pretty damn good. But yeah, it's one of those things for this character now is potentially he only has one surviving team member. Because we don't know what happened with the tech guy. The rookie, let's call him the newbie, he was pretty much okay at the end there because he's the one that went and woke him up after Eagly knocked his ass out. The woman carotid, and since he passed out while he was trying to apply pressure and treat her, she could be dead because you don't get immediate treatment for carotid. You're in very serious trouble. And the other guy, Encino Man, I believe, he's down at eye, bare minimum. So,
which losing an eye is also pretty damn threatening if it's not treated immediately, because that is also major artery around the brain area.
Yep.
Which, you typically not at threat of major blood loss from losing an eye, but the problem is you're at threat of depriving the brain of blood, because of the damage to that area can cause not enough blood to actually get to the brain.
Right. But again, to be fair, those are Argus agents, so they probably have more agents that they could throw at this situation, because everything that we talked about a little bit about it there with at the end of the reaction with Flag and what's going on with him. He is very self-motivated based on what Peacemaker did to his son. He killed him, it was a callback to the movie. That was something that's clarified, luckily for us. But it's been a while since we've seen the movie, so I had to kind of talk through that one a little bit. But the one other thing I was going to say about that too was, how the hell did they have the entire transcript of what happened in the movie? Like I said, I made the joke. It's like, that's just the script from the movie, right? It was like verbatim, like, and then Peacemaker, stabbed him with the shard and went through his heart, and the last thing Flag said was "Peacemaker, what a joke." And I'm just like, are we just reading the script? What the, you know what I mean? And I know they have all kinds of crazy tech, and they were monitoring them and shit like that, so maybe, but just everything. It was literally everything down to like the motions, that he rolled over on top of him, and it was like the whole choreographed scene,
Well, the thing with that in particular was that was during the time when they couldn't really monitor them because they were down in the like collapsing bunker. Right. And like Waller didn't know anything that was going on. And that's part of why the team started kind of splintering, is because they all had different ideas of what their objective was, and Waller couldn't input anything.
Right. So
because they ran into communication.
Let's just call it technological magic. How they got that detailed of a report. Because it'll literally look like the movie script. So anyway, with this nice party sequence, that kind of thing. Seeing bird blindness, that was, that entire sequence.
This is one weakness.
Is one weakness, like claptrap and stairs. I know Borderlands is in hot water because their CEO is a fucking moron, but still, the claptrap joke is funny.
From everything I've heard, Borderlands 4 is actually a pretty good game if you can run it.
There's their caveat. Can you run it? That's a whole other discussion for another time, though. But still, those kind of jokes that are like iconic like that are great. I'm glad they leaned into that because that was pretty good. But you had, more character interaction, stuff like that. That stuff was going on here. Peacemaker trying to, get to like Harcourt here, and she's not having any of it. It's, and he's trying for multiple different reasons now, especially now that he's aware of the other universe and what could have been. So it's probably going to keep hitting him doubly hard. So I'm interested to see how this affects his character.
Yeah, she's in full victim mode. She thinks everyone is trying to look down on her or pity her. But it's just people being concerned.
Yep. For people in those situations, I've dealt with them, and you just kind of gotta let them hopefully figure it out on their own. Just never go away, just kind of keep checking on them. But, if you try like Peacemaker does here, and this is the response you get, you kind of just gotta give them a minute or 5. You know what I mean? So I think all these interactions are very realistic and well handled. So, especially someone in her situation, it's only reasonable to see why she feels the way that she does. So it's, well, especially with the multiverse shenanigans, that's gonna get weird. You know what I mean? So we'll just have to see how all this stuff goes on here, especially since he showed up here drunk, and Keith and Augie are in the house. So
looking for Peacemaker.
Yeah, looking for Peacemaker, and they're aware of like what's with the blood, and they're kind of listing off a couple of like random other things that were going on with that universe's Peacemaker. So they're not like overly concerned, like, oh holy shit, something super bad is going on here. So
well, yeah, we know this universe's Peacemaker is a bit of a troublemaker in particular. So like there being blood around the house isn't anything like typically to be concerned about. But yeah, he didn't go back and clean the blood in the house. Because once again, the fight started here.
Yep.
But yeah, they are concerned over the fact that they don't know where he is.
Right.
So we'll have to see what happens when they find him.
Indeed. But either way, another solid episode. I'm enjoying this. Hopefully we'll be able to continue week by week here and we won't have any more problems. But again, we had the technical issue, and then last week Age was under the weather, and I just was not around to do anything because of all kinds of other madness. we should be back on track and continuing the Cena on Saturday. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to more of Peacemaker because this has been pretty damn good. So, you got anything else for this one, Age?
As someone who takes care of birds, yeah, birds will fuck you up.
Yeah.
Like people highly underestimate birds because they're typically small, but like predator birds will pick the shit out of you, and even like chickens, like roosters, will try to fuck you up. Geese are freaking menaces.
Right. I will say, they more focused on Eagly, like using his beak and stuff like that. Bald eagle talons,
Yeah,
they're like clawed fist weapons, man. Some of those things are like 8 inches long. They will fuck you up.
yeah, that is the thing. Is birds typically fight more with their talons than with their beak.
Yeah.
Like even ground birds, like chickens and stuff like that, will jump and try to claw at you.
Yeah, like fully mature, like male bald eagles, their talons are like, you know what I mean? Like full on, like Lady Dumitrescu, like, you know, just not to that extreme, but you just kind of look at them and it's just like, man, that I wouldn't want to get hit by that. You know what I mean? You know, like 3 to 8 inch just talons, and there's, you know, 3 of them and they're just coming at you, 6 of them coming at you, just, you know what I mean? So it's very damaging, you know what I mean? Even to a human, obviously. It's not like we're impervious to damage or something, and that's technically a very deadly bladed weapon, technically. So coming at you at 40 to 50 miles an hour. Okay? So it's not something you want to get hit by. So that's just something to think about. A lot of people might scoff at Eagly winning that fight. Totally reasonable. Especially a trained bird that is trained by, you know, a superhero kind of character. So
yeah, no, friggin' Eagly, in addition to just being a bald eagle, which is quite a strong bird, is, yes, a trained combatant and has a lot of experience in combat.
Yep. So, anyway, there you have it. Episode 2, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond whoever you're watching. We always appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us here in the dojo for more live action / comic adjacent, whatever the hell Victoria called this. And this was Peacemaker, Season 2, Episode 2. So, have a good morning, evening, afternoon. Whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.